targeted consultation.
I call Andrew Falloon.
Chair, and I'm pleased to see we've had a change of minister in the chair because, unfortunately, the previous minister didn't take a single call. We've been putting, I think, quite a few very important questions to the minister this morning in relation to this bill, and the minister hasn't taken a single call yet to clarify the queries that we have and to answer the questions that we have, which I think is very disappointing because I just want to take issue with what my previous colleague actually said. He said this was quite a minor bill. Well, I actually think it's quite important. And there's a number of very important questions that we have in relation to this bill, which I think it is important that the minister responds to, because if he doesn't, then it doesn't have the adequate process around it, and that's, I think, a very disappointing aspect for democracy. So I do just want to put a couple more questions to the minister this morning, and I hope he takes the time to respond. And the first one of those questions is in relation to let me just find the number. It is 41AB4. And this refers to the permit holder must notify the minister in accordance with subsection 5 if A, subsection 2 is contravened, and B, the permit holder knows or ought reasonably to know that it has undergone a change of control. And so my question to the minister is in relation to the word reasonably, because I get very nervous when I see reference to reasonable in legislation, because as I was referring to in a previous contribution, it is very difficult for us to know what the definition of reasonable is, because reasonable can mean many things to many different people. And so my first question to the minister is, in relation to that word reasonably, how will that be determined and by whom? Will it be solely by the minister, or will it be by officials, solely by officials? Or will it be by officials providing advice to the minister who then ultimately makes the decision? Because, as we know in government, there are a range of processes, immigration as an example, where some of the decisions are essentially delegated by the minister to other officials, and so that could be the case here with the Crown Minerals Amendment Bill. Or it might be that they have to go to the minister for final sign-off, as we saw with a recent decision by the Minister of Immigration, which I won't refer to because it doesn't relate to the Crown Minerals Act, Amendment Bill or the Crown Minerals Act. But it does raise the query or question, which is how will it be determined by whom and what process will the minister go through to get there. So I'd like an answer to that question this morning, Mr Chair. It is a very important one. There's also been a number of other questions raised by me in relation to the change of control, which I think is really at the heart of this, because the change of control element is what this legislation is all about. It was, in fact, the very reason that this legislation came into being. There's a number of other aspects contained, particularly in Part 1 of the bill, which is the essential part, but change of control is at the heart of the bill. And there's been a number of questions put to the minister and the chair this morning about how will the change of control be determined, if there will be differences between domestic purchaser and international purchaser, for example. And so those questions are very important questions because they do go to the heart of Part 1 and to the heart of the bill. And so I hope that the minister takes the opportunity to respond this morning, not just to my questions that I'll put to him, but I think by the very good questions that particularly the committee chairman, Jonathan Young, has put to him, because as Jonathan said, we did take a lot of time with this bill. It was a very lengthy process over quite a few months, which is in stark contrast to another Crown Minerals Amendment Bill that's passed through Parliament in recent months. And so we gave it the scrutiny it deserved. We took several months to assess that bill, and so I think it's beholden on the minister to acknowledge that process actually that we took to go through the Crown Minerals Amendment Bill, and to take a call this morning and to respond to some of our questions. Thank you, Mr Chair.
I call Jonathan Young.
Thank you very much, Mr Chair, for the opportunity